Welcome to the Building Your Career podcast. I'm your host, Dom Taujanskas, and join us as we explore the world of construction. Each episode, we welcome a guest that shares career highlights and career advice, and hopefully inspires the next generation of construction professionals.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Building Your Career miniseries. I'm here with John Elliott, the managing QS of Marbank, who's going to talk through, obviously, his background, where he comes from in construction, and to give anyone out there a little bit of advice on how to start the career within construction, really. So without further ado, I'll pass it on to John just to introduce himself, and then obviously we'll go on to a couple of questions. But yeah, John, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're at now.
Yes, hi Dom and viewers. I'm obviously John Elliott, managing QS at Marbank Construction, which is a main contractor that's been in the industry for a long time, many years. And I got into the career myself, having been a witness to my dad being involved in construction, and that's what inspired me. So yeah.
Brilliant. So it's kind of almost following in the family's footsteps and having that exposure from quite a young age, really.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and it was. I think it's a fast-paced industry as well. So that is something that quite often appeals to young people, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was a bit of a similar experience to myself, really. I think the reason I wanted to get into construction is because I think I was about 6 years old. I went to Jamaica, saw a lot of my family who are all land surveyors there, and yeah, ever since then I just wanted to get involved in the construction industry anyway, shape or form. So that's why I decided to study architecture, and yeah, never look back really. But I suppose in terms of first question, in terms of Marbank as a business, I just wanted to find out kind of where you're at as a business at the moment and what your kind of goals are for moving forward.
Yeah, so certainly historically we're well known with clients and consultants practices for being a industrial warehouse main contractor, and the business is moving into a slightly different profile going forward with the new directors that have come into play. There's a handover between the original directors and the new guys that are taking things forward. And I'm part of that new team. And we're very much focused on obviously maintaining the bread and butter business of industrial units that has worked for us very well for many years. But also we've got a team now, a fairly young team actually, in terms of age, but they're actually experienced, many of them, in multiple sectors of construction.
Okay.
So not just retail warehouses and units like that. So the view for the business going forward is to say do the bread and butter stuff, keep that going, but open up to a wider range of projects. And actually, we've recently secured a £18 million project, which is very much a step away from the retail warehousing. So we're sort of already on that road. So that's very exciting.
Okay, brilliant. And I think it kind of goes back to it's always worth having a bit of diversity in the portfolio. And particularly in this kind of day and age, it's and people coming into the construction industry, the one bit of advice I would give is just try and get experience in a few different types of sectors or a few different types of roles, just to get a good grip of exactly what goes on, instead of maybe pigeonholing yourself from very early on. You sometimes just get stuck in that lane and stuck in that sector, really.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, I mean, you just highlighted a very good point there, Dom, which is all businesses have to survive in good and bad times.
Yeah.
And absolutely the best way to do that and actually generate the best level of profits, by my experience, is to keep your options open, and also to focus on servicing your clients. Often clients come to you, and they might have come to you from a retail warehouse position, but they also have other opportunities themselves. So large consultancies obviously filter all of these projects through their workload. They need to find good and very capable main contractor businesses to go and build whichever the construction form is for the client. So, it's just good to keep your options open, and clearly you need the skill set within the business to be able to handle those the additional complexities, let's say, of a variety of projects. But as long as you've got the team on board with the experiences to deal with those additional variation situations, then it's something you can offer your clients as a wider option, really.
Definitely, and I think that leads quite nicely on to the next question as well, in terms of the key qualities that are needed for success in the construction industry. But I think you've touched on a point there, is just having that inquisitive nature, asking the clients, what else is it that you do, and don't just take that first answer as gospel. Always dig a little bit deeper and just have that inquisitive mindset about expanding on either your knowledge or gaining extra information that could generate more business in the future, really. So I suppose, putting the question to you, what do you consider to be kind of key qualities, and what do you look for in your team?
So certainly it's that analytical mind I look for, because that's evidence to me that someone's actually interested in the detail. And with certainly on the commercial side of construction projects, when you're managing the commercial aspects, you to best represent the business you are working for, and also the client that you're working for, you've got to mind the money very, very carefully, and the devil's always in the detail in the process of doing that. So I would always be looking to employ young people who have got a passion as well. That's a major thing, because if you haven't got a passion for what for the work that you're doing, then you'll always struggle, won't you? But definitely the focus on the detail, Dom, is really important, because that's where you can win or lose some big commercial situations.
Yeah, and I think, I would genuinely give people that advice, is that if you've got that passion for the industry, then that's the thing that's going to get you out of bed every morning and get you coming in, even when there's difficulties on site, or things are maybe not going your way. It's that genuine passion for the industry that is going to keep you going in those hard times, and ultimately is going to lead to that kind of career progression as well. If you just show a genuine interest to your clients, or the people that you're working with, or your management as well, then that's the thing that really stands out for me, and I'm sure with yourself as well.
Sure, absolutely.
But moving on to the kind of the next question. Obviously, with kind of university fees and things like that are always on the rise and going up. I know I come from a kind of a different generation, but how important do you consider to be the kind of education and the university route, or is there different routes that people can take where maybe they wouldn't have the finances to fund a university degree? So I just wanted to hear from your perspective how important you see that kind of early education and early kind of route, going through the typical route of GCSEs,
Yes.
A levels, university, or is there different options out there for people?
Well, absolutely, there are other options, and that's always been the attractive thing for many of us that get involved in construction in the first place. Many of us start out as young people not really knowing what we want to do, and of course, how can you know when you've not tried something? Yeah. So there's a lot of this talk of, do you know what you want to do, and all this sort of stuff. But of course, most youngsters actually don't really know what they want to do until they've tried it. So more to the point of your question, there is absolutely other ways in construction, but I'm not at all saying that qualifications aren't important. The youngsters will know, well, they've had it very much impressioned on themselves for many years by so many parties how important qualifications are. So they definitely are important, but the route into construction doesn't have to be through a degree or A levels, and so on. Many construction guys my age and many older got into it originally from a trades background, and then elevated themselves to the office side of things and became managers. Lots of your contracts managers and your project managers came through the same route, as you know well, Dom. So there is an awful lot of people in this industry who have found a way into it with little or no qualifications, except to say that they're very good with their hands initially, and they can build things and undertake various trades, and then people along the way spot you, and they realise that actually you've got a certain level of intelligence and a level of desire and passion and interest in what you're doing. And that's the sort of thing that sets you out from others, and then you get plucked out from the crowd, and that's how, not just in construction but in many sectors of industry, you make progress in your life. So it's not all about qualifications, but absolutely, when you get to a certain level, you understand you start to understand better the importance of qualifications. So yeah.
Are you a job seeker, tired of endlessly scrolling through job boards with no success? Has your job search hit a dead end? Well, we're here to tell you there's another way. Here at Quest Personnel, we offer a variety of free resources to help job seekers just like you. Our team of expert recruiters is here to help you through every step of the job search process, from CV writing to interview techniques. But that's not all. We also offer exclusive access to workshops, networking events, and other job roles that you simply won't find anywhere else. So what are you waiting for? Get in touch now on our website, questpersonnel.co.uk.
Yeah, it's really, really good point, and I think that goes back to having that inquisitive nature, always asking people, making connections with different people by just speaking with them, building up your confidence about your communication skills, but just asking the questions. How do you go about doing your job? How's that related to the project? But I think that is crucial, that there is different ways in there, but it all goes back to being inquisitive, having a good work ethic from the beginning, and naturally that's going to get noticed by the people around you, and those options to progress your career just naturally come if you've got that kind of mindset, really. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I think it's a good point. Very good point. And just finally as well, because obviously this whole podcast is about nurturing young talent. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to see from a kind of a business perspective or a team perspective, how you go about kind of nurturing talent, and what advice that you could give to maybe young people coming in to maybe impress in their team, or what do you kind of look for in terms of people, and how do you retain and progress young talent within the business?
Very, very good question. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because to my mind, at least, people have got to facilitate that themselves initially, at least. And I think a lot of youngsters, in particular, are less inclined to speak out and say, because they don't know things, and they're nervous in a new position, new business, or whatever, and they haven't quite got enough experience or whatever. A lot of people will just keep quiet and try and listen. And of course,
Yeah.
Ultimately, construction, everywhere I've worked in construction, it's a high pressure industry. There's a great demand on you to get a lot of work done in a very small period, and to do it effectively and with as little error as possible. The best way I think for the youngsters to give themselves a really good chance to be noticed and to be brought through as a good talent is just to ask questions. You were saying earlier, quite rightly, about the inquisitive mindset. An inquisitive mindset does exactly that. The person asks questions, and those questions generate answers, and then straight away you're learning. Whereas if you play the I don't want to be the one who speaks out card, then you never. It's the old scenario, isn't it? You don't ask, you don't get. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's so much to be learned from. There'll be, as you have your journey through construction. There's so much to learn. You've really got to get out on site as well. Don't just be stuck. Don't just be stuck in an office,
Yeah.
because then you're really not learning very much at all about the industry you're in. We build buildings, and we've got the industry's got a real health and safety problem, and always has had, because there's many dangerous machines you're working with, and so health and safety is a big priority. But that the youngsters can show their talent and increase their knowledge and their talent by just asking questions. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Then they'll learn more. Yeah.
And I do think it goes down to, don't be of the opinion that, people will not give you the time of day, or will not answer the question, or they'll be asking you, okay, why are you asking me that? I think, really, when you dig down, everyone wants to help each other out, because they're working together for the good of the project. So, don't be afraid to ask those questions. Don't think that people are not going to give you the time of day, because most people are, and the industry is kind of going that way now. That I think the kind of older generation, where it's assumed that everyone's going to shout and scream on site, is just not really a thing anymore. So I think everyone is working together, and everyone sees working together for the good of the project as the best way to be nowadays.
Absolutely, and you kind of nailed it there, Dom. In that, it's a push toward being a team player, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
All the time you start asking those questions. If I ask you a question, you're going to answer my question, and that will lead to an ongoing discussion. Yeah, and then you feel you've got some level of bond with someone because you've shared something. They've shared something from you. You start learning from one another. The whole experience makes people grow, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, John, it's been an absolute pleasure. This was a great episode, and a lot of very useful insights and for the youngsters coming through now, and some really good points to take away as well. So, thank you very much for your time. That is much appreciated. And it's been a great podcast.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
All right, take care, John. Take care. See you later.
Thank you for joining us on the Building Your Career podcast. We hope you enjoyed hearing from our guest and learning about the different career paths available. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe so we can reach even more listeners. And if anyone wants any free CV advice or simply wants to know the options available to them, don't hesitate to get in touch.